Welcome to the Ditch the Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Alana Rosso. I'm a graphic designer turned career and success coach who knew I could do better, but kept falling short of where I wanted to go. But after years of exploring personal and career development, business, money mindset, and energy work, I'm here to tell you that yes, you can move from stuck and defeated to empowered and confident. Ready to dive in? Awesome. Together, let's ditch the struggle. Hi, everyone. We have an interview today with someone who is an incredible graphic designer, and I admire their work, but I also really admire their approach to work and their approach to community. So I'm going to introduce you to Faron Dawe today, and we have a short bio, but I want to talk just a little bit about what's coming up in the episode. Is that it's a very real conversation about how health and stress can affect our lives, our work life, just everything. And we get into some really great conversations about what to do to help our health, how to protect ourselves, how to manage stress. And yeah, when things get real and real tough, it can be really scary and challenging. And there's just some really great personal stories here that I'm thrilled that he was able to share with us today. So Faron Dawe has over 20 years of professional creative experience. He is a certified registered graphic designer, art director, and sole proprietor of Faron Design, and has a heart for giving back to the creative community. That is absolutely true. Let's dive into this conversation. Welcome, Faron. I'm so thrilled to have you on this podcast. I've been wanting to talk to you for quite a while because you have some great stories to share with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share.
Yeah. Amazing. So why don't you just let our audience know a little bit about you, your background. You are also a creative. I'll put that right out there. But you do a lot of different things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. So my name is Faron Dawe. I'm a certified registered graphic designer here in Canada with over 20 years of professional design experience. And I've worked in a number of different avenues, whether it's in-house design, agency work to some degree, freelance numerous times throughout my career. And I've also been a design educator for a number of years as well.
So take me back to how you decided to become a graphic designer.
So I think it found me. I remember in high school, it's the graduation week. Most of us had no idea what we were doing after the fact. And I remember hearing the word graphic design and being a person that I was artistic. I liked to draw. I liked to be in that realm. Graphic design was something that I really didn't know what it was, but it was intriguing to me. I had an opportunity to do a co-op during high school at a local newspaper where I was helping two older gentlemen in the classifieds department. And at the time, while the rest of the departments were working digitally, this was very hands-on. And so we were printing ads, laying them out manually on a tabloid size paper. And so that really struck me as looking the idea of contrast and the idea of balance, and those all were kind of taught through this program. And so that's really how the whole thing started. From there, I actually went to an art school where there was really no design related, but it gave me an opportunity to try a bunch of different great things like pottery and drawing and art history. And so that was really the snowball into what graphic design, how graphic design came into my life.
And then how did you make that decision to make it a career specifically? Like, I'm going to make this my livelihood.
I think it's because many of my friends, they were going the usual route of choosing a career. They're all heading to the same, quite famous university in my part of the country. And I'm a person that usually will swim against that.
Okay.
Like everyone's going here, then I'm going this way, And I just wanted to be able to meet new people, get a new experience, and not feel like I was with the same people that I have been for the last 3 or 4 years through high school. So that's what really led me into art school and a kind of a different path. but it was from there that, at the time technology was really starting to become a thing, and digital design was starting to formulate, and I was getting these hints and getting these cues about furthering my career, and my education. The next step was like, what next, after art school, what's possible. And so it just so happened that I came across a design school that was offering a program called Interactive Multimedia Specialist. And again, just intrigued, not really knowing what was involved or anything. It was something that I felt, okay, if I'm not a great artist, and I would totally admit to that, I still loved it, but maybe this would be a better fit for me. The technical side of things would be something more up my alley than, let's say, more on the artistic side.
And so now that you've been doing this, I know you've been doing it a long time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not as long as me, but you've been doing it a while. And looking back at this career that you've built, what are your thoughts on having built primarily a creative career? Like, do you look at it and feel really proud that you went the creative route? Does it feel like that was the right fit?
Yeah, I don't have any doubts about that.
Okay.
I mean, I have doubts day to day sometimes on the type of work I'm doing, or is this where I want to be doing for, the rest of my life in terms of the specific task and how I'm running my business. But as I look back, and this comes up, I'm sure, in my mind, once or twice every season. And I'm very assured quickly that this was definitely the right path for me. And the more I meet other people that are in other careers, and I see people that are just not where they feel they fit, or are just not, it's just going through the motions, work. The time that we allow work to take over our lives is so large. It's such a big part of our lives, sometimes too much.
Yeah.
But for it to be such a huge part of our life from start to finish, I more and more feel strongly that I want to encourage people to find what it is that they were kind of made to do, and so it's sad to me that many people just feel like they're stuck, or just feel like there's no other option, and it's going through the motions. And yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things I've always really noticed about you is that you seem to have a lot of enthusiasm for your career, for the design community. You're always showing up with the design association. You're really constantly encouraging people. And I feel it comes from this place of just genuinely want to help people, but also that you have enjoyed your career. Like, you have found it fulfilling. Now, I could be a little bit wrong there, but that's the sense I get. And that's why I kind of wanted to have you on, because I feel like you have tapped into something. You are in alignment somehow. Like, you seem to be in alignment with your career, and not everyone is, to your point. So what would you say to someone who is feeling stuck and they think that they maybe should try something else, or they're too scared to try something else?
um it's a hard step to take. We all want to feel comfortable. We all want to feel safe. We want to feel like we're in control. And when our mind kind of throws a wrench into that, it can get scary, for sure. I strongly believe that it takes specific steps in order to get your mind in that mode. So what I mean by that is being able to be around others that are in that career or in that space, to get inspiration around that specific, career or the specific industry. I think it's surrounding yourself with it helps to kind of ignite, a spark for people. Yes, I mean, we all need to pay the bills, and we all want to feel like we're financially stable in that sense. But I also find the older I get, the less I worry about that. And I also experience, many situations where things happen for a reason that's beyond our control, and we're on a path, however straight or however, curvy that path is. We're meant for something, and allowing kind of, trying not to force ourselves into it. I think it's something that we, easy to say, hard to do, but I think it's important.
Yeah. And what would you say are some of the things you have struggled with when you have built and are building your creative design career?
Personally, I haven't had many opportunities to have a mentor or to be around other creatives. So, my design career is quite a bit different than many, in that I didn't work at a large agency at any part of my life. It's always been small business related, whether it's in-house or maybe it was with a design firm or a marketing firm, but never the large agency experience. Some may say I'm lucky that way.
Yeah, I
Because
would say that.
yeah, right, exactly. But so for me, I kind of felt alone as I was building my design career, if that makes any sense. I'm not saying that there wasn't people that would come into my life and teach me some wonderful, great things along the way, which that has happened. But you talked about my involvement now with the design community. I didn't have that, and whether I didn't search for it enough, I'm not sure if that's the reason. But I became a certified registered graphic designer, 17 years into my career. Not 3 or 5 or 8 like most of the creatives that are coming through a program like that. And so it's been late in my career where I've been finally feeling like I'm part of a community, that I have people around me that are also creative, that I can lean on, that I can learn from, that I can maybe teach. And so it's really about surrounding yourselves with that. I strongly feel.
Yeah, I think the lonely piece is huge, actually. And I would bet that if you spoke to every graphic designer around, that 99% of them would actually say that, but they might not be conscious of it because you are kind of isolated picking a creative career to begin with. That's my take on it. It's a little bit different. Like you're not following the mainstream. You're not following your friends that are all going off and doing their business degrees and all of these things. You're doing something a little bit different. And in my case, my parents, I don't think they still knew what I did for a living, like forever, like, like they never knew what I did. Like they didn't really get it. So I didn't have them to lean on to. Not most of my friends were doing it. Other than I did have 2 girlfriends that fortunately kind of followed a similar path. But who are you supposed to reach out to? Like, who are you supposed to talk to? And that community connection piece is so important, especially I think if you're doing a career that not everyone else is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like in the friend circle, they don't know what you're doing, but they think it's cool, which is
Yeah.
cool to know
And
that,
they want you to
right?
do their wedding invitations.
Exactly. So it's off to a good start with the friends and family. But yeah, you're right. I mean, to maybe feel like you don't have you're not surrounded with it day in and day out, or you don't have people that you can rely on or lean on, is pretty common, I think, in this industry.
And so what did you find that once you joined a design community and you started having that connections in community, what was the impact that had on you and your career?
Um, I think the biggest thing was inspiration. You know, being inspired, being maybe pushed to do better, to maybe get to a point where you're picking the projects that you want to work on, as opposed to just taking what you can get and making as much as you can, and going through the motions, right? And we all do that in our careers and in our life, but specifically in design, it's very easy to fall into that trap of just getting things done and moving on to the next thing. While there's always deadlines and timelines you have to stick to, more and more I think about, if I'm putting enough time and energy into a specific task or a specific project. So yeah, that's what it's done for me. It's inspired me to kind of do better, to be around others in that realm, and to I've felt it's been very helpful for me to feel like I'm part of something bigger than just outside of my walls. But at the same time, it's been fulfilling to also be able to give back to that community as well.
And the give back piece is, I think, really crucial for not only helping other people out there building their career and, helping other creatives, but also reminding ourselves of how much we have learned, how much we have grown. And I find it just sheds such a light on the steps that we've taken in our progress, which in turn builds confidence, even more confidence.
Yeah, I mean, even to this day, I mean, I have people asking me questions about the whole imposter syndrome and not realizing how much talent and expertise you have, even many years into the business, right? Being able to tell yourself, yeah, I can do that, and I know how to do this, and I know how to do this well. And so that confidence, being able to build that as the career builds, is such an important piece, and very hard to do, and very hard to fall away from that very, very quickly.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is, I think, huge in the design creative community. I see it everywhere, but uh, for some reason, I think it's maybe because the creative, world, the creative work is so nuanced and it's not necessarily measurable in many ways, that the imposter syndrome can really kick in because you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, how they're doing, and wondering if you're creative enough, good enough, smart enough, savvy enough, like inspired enough. There's just so much not enoughness that bubbles up. And I see it left, right, and center with creatives.
Yeah. And I think putting yourself in a community,
yeah,
I think actually helps. I think it helps that. I mean, certainly you're seeing other people that are doing some wonderful, amazing things. But at the same time, you start to feel like, okay, I'm one of these people. Like I'm also on that level. I can also encourage people. People can encourage me. I can work with them. I can rely on them for their expertise so that I don't have to feel like I'm struggling through that. That's been a big one for me, specifically even this year, is to be able to let go the reins of my business, all aspects of my business, to be able to lean on others, to be able to do the work that doesn't have to be done by me specifically, so I could focus on and learn what are the specific things that me as a designer and me as a creative person or professional that really only I can bring to the table.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about like letting those reins go, because generally designers love being control freaks because we like things done a certain way, and we have natural perfectionism, which I think can be an amazing thing. How have you been able to be like, okay, I'm going to, like, do you have other designers working for you, or how are you letting those reins go a little bit?
Mainly on the production side of things, certainly. I think many people default to finding someone that can handle like the business or the logistics part of their business. So, taking care of invoicing and taking care of communication and social media. And I do feel I'm different that way than many other designers that I meet, where, I'll have conversations with them and we're talking about, the whole, everything that has to be done outside of design, which obviously we all hate, but hopefully we're all learning that that's as important as the design work itself. But hearing stories of them, oh, I haven't sent an invoice in 6 or 8, 10 months. And so for me, I'm such a different person that way, because I'm on top of it all the time. And I just know that if I don't, that's additional stress, and that's additional headache that I would have, later on. And so I at this point, I haven't let go of the reins of that specifically. And I don't mind actually doing that. Which probably many creatives would be like, oh, it's the worst thing ever to have to do these mundane tasks to kind of keep the business going. But for me, it was more about finding people that could help me with the production design work. So allowing myself to be the art director still, to be able to lead that charge, but to then say, hey, here's the design system now. We need business cards, we need a brochure, we need this, all things that a production designer with the elements and with the design system can flush out,
Right. So they're helping you with the rollout. You've got the concepts, you've kind of got the ideas and the systems in place. What I find really interesting is I'm also the same. I love doing my own paperwork and organization and all that invoicing. And I could talk for hours about people who have resistance to invoicing. That's like a whole thing. But what I find just fascinating about what you've explained is that you identified kind of the places where you would most need support and help. And it might not have been what other people would have picked, like the business side of things, but you realized it was a production and you leaned into that, as opposed to thinking, oh, I should be having someone do my books and do all this, or social media. That you really were aware and conscious of where you needed to fill that space and get that help.
Yeah, and I felt actually that this year, specifically during the spring, I was forced into it because I looked at the list of projects that had to be completed. And it was the production work that had to be done. And so knowing that, hey, I look at that list, and myself doing all of that work wasn't going to happen without me, losing my mind and, hurting relationships and all that around me, by working too much and too much overtime. And, as you get older, to me, I just, the less and less I feel passionate about doing that,
Yeah. Yes, but there's a lot of pressure to be like, oh, I should be doing all the things and every single thing. And it's hard to let go. I get that.
Yeah.
You just touched on something that I think is also key for the creative life is the long hours. We're sitting at the screens for hours and hours and hours, days, it feels like. I know in the beginning of my career, I often was doing like literally 16-hour days, like just in stupid amounts of work. And I felt that it took a huge toll on my health. Like I just got so wrapped up in being productive and being a worker bee that I didn't pay attention to how my overworking was affecting me. Now, were you able to, like, I find some designers are able to step back and be like, okay, I can't do this much work. I need to have more balance. How were you when it came to that, like, kind of work-life balance?
Um, I I was actually forced into it early on in my career. And so, long story short, when I was 16 years old, I was diagnosed with epilepsy. And for many many years, including into the first part of my design career, I was suffering from seizures maybe once or twice a year. And it was if you know anything about it, it's different for everybody. Everybody has different kind of symptoms. Everybody has different ways of dealing with it. Medication is always obviously the forefront of that. But while I was taking so much medication for this, I was still not finding the answers as to why this was happening. And at the time, I'm a freelance designer. I'm young. I'm working out of my apartment every day and night because it's there. It's like, the computer's next to the bed, right? So
Oh,
you wake
yeah.
up and what do? We get coffee, and we ignore the other things that we all should be doing. And after a while, it started to kind of dawn on me like, okay, there's something that's triggering this. What is? And so putting the pieces together, and like I said, it took a long time to kind of figure this out, but it was a combination of a few things. One piece being staring at a computer screen for too long. So
Wow.
what I'm thinking? I'm like, okay, I this is my job.
Yeah.
This is what I do day in and day out, probably for too long. And so so once I've kind of made those connections, because every time I would have a seizure, I was at a computer. That was
Really?
yeah. So I mean, I would say in the course of 10 or 12 years, there was maybe been 2 episodes where I wasn't in front of a computer, but every other time I had been. So it became pretty obvious that was an issue. And then of course, knowing that, okay, well, I'm not eating right. I'm not really creating a routine for myself here. I'm working at a home. And so I had the opportunity to move and into an office space. Actually, a client of mine said, hey, why don't you come down? We have a room. If you want to leave your computer here, you can do that. Um, it's totally up to you if you want to give it a try. So I gave it a shot. And so that then forced me to wake up at a normal time, at the same time every day. Shower up, get food in me, go on the bus, get downtown, and it was a good hour, an hour and a half before I actually, got onto the computer and started working. And then, and now dating myself, it wasn't like a laptop where I take it home and work all night on it, right?
Yeah.
It was a computer tower and a monitor. So I was
Yeah.
leaving it there.
Right.
And that was so good because I didn't have a really good opportunity to then at home keep going unless I needed to. I would stay late, obviously, in some cases to finish a deadline, but I was creating a routine. I was going to work, I was working, and I was leaving work. And then my evenings were kind of freed up, and I started creating this routine. And then, well, it didn't actually take that long before I started realizing that I was having less and less seizures, right? To a point where I then had my last seizure in 2008, and then took my last, medication pill in 2010, and I haven't had a seizure since. And so I don't know. Yeah. So for me, it's like, okay, so we can actually take care of ourselves and alleviate a lot of the medical issues that we have.
Yes. That is wild. And to put, amazing that you figured out the connection pretty quickly, but you put very like having an office downtown and moving your space out of your apartment or like that's a big step. And that was a really big boundary that you set because in one way you're making more work for yourself because like you now have to get your like ass dressed and downtown and you got to go
That's
do the
right.
thing, get on a bus. Um, but you seem to recognize that that was important for you to maybe get into this routine that you were saying. Like you keep using the word routine. So that seemed to be
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I attribute, finding the cure to this based on routine and like I said, not allowing myself to be burned out or not allowing myself to, back to, working out of my bedroom all week long. Then on the weekends I'm out every night because I just need to get out of the house because I am a social
Yeah.
person and I want to see
Yeah.
other people. And that's a big thing too. Even today, at work, being around other creatives and other people to be able to have that social side of things is super important for me. I know it's not for everybody, and I meet creatives almost every day that are like, "Oh, I just love it in my bedroom and being alone," and that's great too. But I can see a little twinkle in their eye when we get a chance to hang out and just
Yes.
socialize, and they get it recharged in a sense, right? And so I attribute it a lot to being able to balance that out.
Yeah. I years ago also had like a million years ago, the computer in the bedroom. And honestly, it is the worst place to have your work should not be in any way connected to the place where you rest. Like if you can put it even into the kitchen somewhere else, that's ideal. Like that's better. Um, because it just seeps in. Like the work, like you're already thinking about work before you go to bed. But if your computer's right there, it's just like taunting you and be like, come work on me, come keep going
Yeah.
with that project. And that, so it sometimes becomes addictive to just kind of keep working. So now, where do you work? What is your work setup like? How do you have this work life balance slash routine?
hmm Well, while I'm able to obviously take work at home, and I do that, certainly I at least bring the gear with me to do that. Right now, I have a studio space in my city here, and unlike the idea of like you have a space with all these other people and you're part of a business or you have an agency, it's actually a co-working space shared by other freelance designers and creatives. So imagine, when we all had roommates in a house and we're kind of doing our own thing, but we're sharing the rent. It's the same idea here. So I was lucky enough to find a space that was, really felt like a creative space, lots of daylight. Which I mean, we can go on a whole other topic about lighting,
Yeah, we will
and
talk about
the
lighting.
effects of lighting and the lack of lighting for your mental health. But yeah, so this space, everybody has their own clients, everybody has like their own work to do, but we feel like we're part of something. We feel like we're around other creative people. We can lean on each other, with unsolicited advice if need be, or if there's a chance to work together, that happens as well. So it's an interesting thing that we're working on a building here.
Yeah, I'm hearing connection. I'm hearing community, not being isolated, which can be sometimes it's great to have that quiet time, but I definitely am seeing, and I think we've all seen it over the last few years, that disconnection from everybody and everything can really have a negative effect on our mental and physical health.
And it's balance. Like
Yeah.
like I wouldn't want to be here day in and day out
Yeah.
around the same people. I mean, it's just natural,
You
right? I
love
mean,
them, but you need to go home.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's the same with every relationship we
Yeah.
have, I think.
Yeah.
So it really is all about that balance. And one of the things that I've kind of been really working on over the last 5 years is creating or at least compartmentalizing my life.
Hmm.
So, I have a job, I have a family, I have passions, I have hobbies, I have interests. And so, without giving enough time to each of those, right? Some of them suffer, right? Or some of them don't live on or don't stay active, right? So, maybe sometimes I admire those creatives that they live and breathe design. That's all they think about. That's all they talk about. For me, I can't.
Yeah.
Like it's not that important enough for me to be like in it always, right? I just have to have those breaks between certain aspects of my life, right? And that goes with anybody with work or with a job. The job shouldn't define you, but just be a part of, who you are in a sense, right? So working on compartmentalizing your life, that's been something I felt that's been really, really helpful, and be able to say, I'm leaving work now, or I'm done with work for now, and now it's family time, or now it's the thing I love to do, or now it's something different where you can come back refreshed, and you haven't been thinking about design or creativity or anything part of your work for like 3 days straight. You're being able to take breaks and be refreshed from that.
Yeah. Before we started this conversation, you said you were going to take a 2-week vacation. I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I know when you're self-employed, how hard that can actually be sometimes to really be like, yeah, I'm taking this chunk of time. It's not easy. But again, this is one of the things that I've noticed about you is that you are really consciously prioritizing what's important to you and what's important to you and your family and what's going to make you feel balanced. And I think hearing stories like that gives other people permission to do that. It's like, you know what? No, I'm checking out now. It's like, I'm done for the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like why has it been such a negative thing to get away from work? Right. I just had a conversation yesterday with some other creatives here, and we talked about the out of office message, the email, and what, at least for me, maybe people still do it, creating such a detailed email to tell people where you're going, why you're doing it, and how they can still contact you if there's an emergency or an issue.
People do that? Like that's what people are doing? They're putting these detailed things together? I'm not doing it. So.
No, well, that's great. But I mean, I remember me myself doing that, or making sure that I felt like my clients felt like they weren't alone anymore for 2 weeks, or and now my out of office is out of office from this date to this date.
Yeah, I saw that again.
No pleasant streets. It's just like I'm out. This is it. And then that should be kind of normal for people to be able to do that. But I have people that have been in the industry way more than me, and just this year they're like, I'm taking a vacation for the first time in my career.
Oh man.
And that's like, wow, like that it's hard to sustain without taking a break and forcing yourself to not just think about it.
Listen, we work in a world where workaholism is celebrated. That's what I think is the bottom line. And then you tack on all these ways that people can get a hold of you. And I can see people writing these emails like, oh, you can text me, you can find me here. Like, I'm going to be at this cafe if you really need to get a hold of me while I'm having my Frappuccino or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not doing that because I feel like, the boundaries. So what are some of then the top things that you recommend for people to keep their physical, emotional, mental health in check and balanced as they're working, whether they're a designer or not? And I want you to touch on the lighting piece too.
Yeah. I, going back to, the health side of things during COVID, I started walking, and, we're working out of home. We all were, I think, for the most part, pretty much, at least in our industry. And so it was wintertime. I wasn't biking. I just needed something. I was just like, oh, I just, need to get out. And I maybe in my mind, I was like, oh, maybe I can start running, and this will be the first step to it. But I started walking. I started walking twice a day, in the morning before I work, in the evening, no matter the weather, dressed accordingly, and started to enjoy it way more than I thought I would, because it allowed me to think, whatever I want to think about, whether it was about my business or what's coming up tomorrow, or to listen to a podcast or to just walk and just enjoy the outside and do something that didn't feel like it was difficult. I mean, most of us obviously can walk. And so, it's not a difficult thing to do. And then as I started doing that, I started noticing some amazing results from it, especially working at a home and feeling like I was back into a routine where I could work all day, night, and the opportunity was there. but being able to take those breaks and stepping away. And then I started, learning from experts in this area about the benefits of walking, and my mind was blown. Like it's unreal. Like specifically, there's one talking about the morning light, not the bright sunshine, but unblocked, without sunglasses, the morning light, 15 to 20-minute walk, what it actually does to your body. If you look into it, it's mind blowing. The effects of a brisk or even just a walk 20 or 30 minutes once a day. Incredible benefits.
And it's accessible to most of us, and it's not hugely time consuming. I also do my walks. I try and do them in the morning. No sunglasses, that whole thing. And my husband also in COVID did a 6-kilometer walk every morning and a 6-kilometer walk every evening. Like he went pretty intense. And honestly, it was like life-changing. Like he was a different person. He was so much happier. He just literally looked different. And it's a lot harder for him to get those walks in now, but when he is walking consistently, like I do think it's one of the most powerful things that we can do for all the health, mental, physical, all the things.
Yeah. This past weekend, I just heard a speaker talking about walking and the idea of, a medication that can cure heart disease, that can cure, all these things that people struggle from. The 15-minute brisk walk does the same thing.
It's amazing.
As to all the medication that's out there that we were all taking to kind of combat that and paying for,
Oh yeah.
It's amazing. It doesn't have to be that hard. And so it just became a thing that I'd love to do. And even in the summer, like I'm walking, I walked this morning and I walked yesterday evening, even though I could get on my bike and go. Biking is a different thing for me. But the walk just kind of slows me down, allows me to think, allows me to just get out there and sometimes not think, just walk and just be in a daze. And it's pretty remarkable. So for me, during COVID, when I started doing that, I started losing weight and I just started feeling better. Digestion was better.
Yeah.
And like I said, it could be a pretty simple thing and a very easy thing to get out of routine because,
totally.
2 or 3 times a year, I'll fall out of it because I will put other things in priority of that. Work is obviously a lot of times one of those things. See, for me I'm a checklist person, and I think to my detriment, I am like I love just getting things done, just to say I did them. Do you
put things on your list that you've already done just so you can check it off?
No, I don't go that far, but don't give me any ideas.
I have done
that. But certainly, like it's one of those things where I can just hop on in 5 more minutes, I get something else done, and I feel like that's a good thing, and as a freelance designer, at least for me, in my own mind too, even though I know my clients aren't thinking this, I'm thinking, what is my client thinking right now about me? Are they waiting for me to contact them? And I should be, even though it's not the case, I'm fine with communication, but that's always in my mind. So I'm thinking, if I could just like do this one thing for them, I'll feel like they're happy with the work that I'm doing, that I did that, or I did it like at 8:00 at night, or it's at 6 a.m. So that one's hard for me to kind of push away. It's like my client's not thinking about me like that. I mean, if they would let me know.
Yeah, they would be sending the email at 9:00 or whatever.
Yeah, so it's us. Like, I mean, we're our worst enemy for most things, I think, in life.
Yeah. And I mean, what I hear though, is that you're very conscientious and you are accountable and you're really trying to follow through. And those are all great things. It's again, just going down to a little bit of the boundaries. One thing that I've been doing is, even if I do work in the evening, which I sometimes do, to get something done for a client, I don't send it that in real time. I always set it to send the next morning. I don't want them kind of knowing that I'm working late at night, or that this is a new normal. So I don't ever want to set a precedent. So I'm really conscientious about when I send emails, and I try not to send them really after 6. I just set it for the morning unless it's something super urgent. And that to me is kind of creating a healthy kind of ecosphere of how I'm going to work with my clients.
Yeah, I know creatives that have specific times for the day when they're opening emails and closing emails.
Yeah.
I've tried that, and I'm going to continue to try that. But one of the things I had done that I felt was very beneficial was I took my email app off my phone.
Oh, okay.
So that I would have to go to my laptop or whatever to check email. Because it was just like another app where I was just checking it to check it, even though
so addictive.
it's so addictive. And for me, maybe other people don't feel this way, but email is not an urgent form of communication. Many people think it is, but if you had to get a hold of somebody, whether you had you were working with a creative or something, if it's that urgent, I would assume a text or a phone call is going to happen before an email.
True.
So to me, I had to get that on my mind. It's like, if somebody is emailing me, I shouldn't be expecting them to think I'm gonna respond right back.
That's
so that was been a big one. I first started with just turning off the notifications on the app, but then I was like, you know what, that's not helping because it's there. I'm tapping on it, I'm checking it, I'm refreshing. So I just kind of like took it off altogether, so that if I'm out and about or at home, unless I sit down and purposely go through my email and check it, it's not bothering me.
Yeah, that's a great point. And what a great reframe of email. Like, we do think it's urgent. Now, if the email has a subject line urgent, then that's different. But that's my expectation, is that if I would get that kind of email, or it would be a phone call, you're right, when it's something. But we are expected to just like snap of the fingers, respond to everything. And I'm hearing you're kind of consciously pulling back from that a little bit. So
trying to, yeah. But again, back to being a check the box type of person. The email, to me, my inbox is my task list, right? So it's even harder to stay out of there and say, hey, you don't really need to get this done or respond to this email right now.
So I'm guessing you're not the type of person that has like 48 unread emails.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, I know. I see people have those notifications on their phone, and I get like, I have like an anxiety attack just looking at it. Just like seeing the red dot with a number. I was like, or I saw someone who had over 900 emails. And I mean, I'm sure these are all just like emails from the Gap and Banana Republic or whatever, but I'm just like, I can't.
I've seen a number over 10,000 once.
No, you haven't. No.
Yeah. Now they had mentioned, oh, I just ported all my old email in. So it's all stuff I've read before, but it's still like I go on vacation Friday, Thursday, my inbox will be empty. Like I have to just like get it cleared out. But it's to me, I enjoy that. I feel like I've accomplished something because I've cleaned up something before. It's kind of a closing of a chapter.
It's closing a chapter, and I think you're giving you're just creating space, like you're creating space for yourself to go on vacation. So when we do this organization, the emails, the cleaning out of that, I know I just got rid of this is a riveting conversation about email, but I just got rid of 2,000 emails from my Gmail and like old stuff. And it feels amazing. Like it's just, it's part of that process of setting ourselves up for success. So you're setting yourself up for your vacation success, and just kind of like recalibration is how I see it.
Yeah. And there's, and I just want to mention this too. There's something I picked up along the way that I guess in the last couple of years, and I noticed somebody else to do that. And I obviously going back to like feeling like you're satisfying your client, but also like informing them, making sure ahead of time that they know, especially if you're in the middle of a project, obviously, for them to know that you're actually not going to be available in a way doesn't, they won't be surprised when they email you and they get an out of office notification, right? And so even having a temporary signature that has at the bottom in red, going to be away, or, out of office from this date to this date, inclusive. And I do that a couple of weeks before vacation. Yeah. So if I am in the middle of, so they see it there. They're, okay. So just know that they're going to be away, and in conversations, right, with tasks and timelines and things like that, I'm never shying away from that. Always being open for those conversations, because we want project to be successful, both the client and ourselves. And so the more you can do to kind of just help people be aware that you're going to be away, to me, it makes me feel like, okay, I can really feel like I can step away and enjoy some time off.
Yeah, I feel like I want to have another conversation with you down the line just about business processes and like things like that, because that does actually overwhelm a lot of entrepreneurs or freelancers or things like that. And I've found a lot of that stuff pretty easy. And I think you have figured out a lot of things too. And it's not easy for everybody. And we do need to find what works for us. Like if you're really, I don't know, if you can't seem to make those email open hours or work for you, then maybe it's just not, meant for you. But I admire people that can do that. Like that, if that works for them, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, back to like just getting other people to help you with that. Like if you feel it's something you don't want to do in your business or in your career or something you're not great at, this is back to, leaning on others to take over that. Yes, it's gonna affect the bottom line, but in the end, it's gonna be so worth it to be able to let go of some of those things that that takes you away from the love of the work that you're doing, right? Because it's always something that's in the back of your mind. And so I encourage people, the more and more they can formulate what they actually want to be doing for the rest of their life. And that's one of those pieces that really helps.
Now, did you consciously sit down and say, okay, these are the things, or write it out, like these are the things I like doing and these are the things I'm good at doing, and then kind of go through and figure out maybe the things you didn't want to do? Did you do something that formal, or did you just kind of think, yeah, I don't want to do this, I want maybe the production to be offloaded?
I certainly did it. I did make notes and formalize it, but I will say that every week it changes. This is back to, we're talking about the struggle, right? I mean, for me, like I'm often questioning, is this what I want to be doing? Or this would also, I think this would also be cool to get into this type of design work. Or would it be great if this would be something that I would focus on mostly? And like I said, that sometimes changes week to week. So I want to just continue to allow things to happen and for situations and opportunities to kind of come up and follow those. I'm often myself, like, what is it that I want to be known for? Like that's a question that's been asked to me. And I encourage other people to ask themselves that question, right? What do you want to be known for? And it's so easy for us to, I want to be known as the best designer in the world. Well, there's like a million or more of us, right? So got to niche down on what you want to be known for. And so this goes to this whole space that we have created here, and this passion project that we're working on as myself and another, well-known designer here in the city who's been at it for more than me. And we both came from a situation where we didn't have people to lean on. We didn't have mentors. We didn't feel like we were part of a community, at least in the smaller city that we were in. And so we were creating this community club called Creative Union. It's not really a union, but it's based loosely on the space we have, but it's not really about the space. It's about bringing creatives together, introducing each other. We know we're out there in the city, in our own little nooks and crannies, and we're just trying to create a space for people to be able to come together, not to just force education or workshops and talk more about design or whatnot. Sometimes it's an opportunity to have just a social night where we get to hang out, and we're around like-minded people. So that's been a big thing, side project and passion project that we've been working on here in our city. And our hopes is that, that it becomes something that every city has its own little chapter of Creative Union where students, those that are intermediate designers, professionals, ones that have been in it for more than 20 or 30 years can all kind of come together and share experiences, learn from each other, and feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
Yes. I love that you're building that kind of community, the connection, and putting your energy into that, and just really helping people with their work life. The whole, it really is just bringing people together so that we don't have the loneliness that we talked about early in the conversation. And I know you come from such a genuine place of wanting to help people. And I love seeing what you're building. I think it's amazing.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's one thing to have something like that online, but this is different in the sense that it's local, right? So you're actually meeting people face to face. Obviously we've come out of a pandemic over the last few years, and so reintroducing the in-person connection is something that's kind of important to us. And we're also at a point where where we're not trying to dictate what this thing is. So we're actually inviting the other creatives that have kind of put their hand up and kind of been a part of it or been attending some of our events to say, what do you need? What do you see in this? Like, what is it that we're missing or that we can add to this to add value to what we're building, right? So it's in its infant stages at this point, and we're totally transparent and to say we don't know how to really do this, but we're open to hearing from everybody, and we all just want to work together to build something. So it's not just our thing, and I mean like me and the two partners on this, but it's like everybody's thing.
Yeah. And I would say that really speaks to the creativity that you guys are bringing to the table, because creative thinkers are often not trying to dictate exactly how things should be executed. And you are letting it kind of mush and boom organically. And then the collaboration piece is what I'm hearing too. So if you're getting input from everybody, so it's like connection, community, and collaboration, you've got all of those things, like you're checking all those boxes. You can check those from your list, Faron.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so interesting you say that, because in our mind, we had like a quote unquote target audience.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it change, and we're seeing it formulate into something different, which we're okay with.
Yeah.
Which we're totally okay with, we want to be able to offer, offer something to those that really need it and that value it. And so it's been kind of great to, obviously, on a more frequent basis, see some creatives that we've known for many, many years, but also these new designers and creative people that are coming through. They're students, they're new to the industry, they're new to Moncton, our city.
Yeah.
And that's been also a big piece too, is newcomers coming in and being able to meet other creatives for the very first time in Canada, right? Where they come from these different countries and they don't know anybody. And so we've been able to kind of create a space for that as well. So it's exciting stuff. So cool to see what's happening with this kind of crazy passion project idea that we had.
Yeah, I think we all need a passion project. And so I hope people find that inspiring, because I just love what you're building. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question I ask all the guests, and I know you know it's coming. So in the spirit of helping people ditch the struggle, what do you feel is most important to commit to?
To me, I feel it's about fighting our own stubbornness. Like, I really think that, and maybe you would agree, that many of the things that we hear about, or that the advice that we're given, we know. Like, in the back of our minds, most of it, we're not stupid. Like, we know we're not doing the things we should be doing. When anybody ever asks you or give you advice, you're like, oh, yes, I know. I need to do that. You're right. And do we do it? No, we do not, because we're stubborn. We fall into these routines and being comfortable, and we don't take those steps to heed advice and to try something new to better ourselves. And back to being our own enemy. I mean, we're stubborn. And I think if we can start by saying, you know what, I need to make changes here, and I'm going to fight myself on it to get it done. I think that's a great first step. Yeah.
And I don't, I'm not going to shy away from the word fight, because sometimes I feel like I do have to fight and force myself to do things and right now I am forcing myself to kind of do a walk every day because I have an injury going on, and it's a small thing, but I was like, no, I'm not going to talk myself out of this. I'm forcing myself to go. And that's where the growth is going to happen. That's where I'm going to get the confidence to feel. And you just feel better when you actually follow through
every time
things that you're saying, whether it's a tiny walk or whether it's like closing your laptop 2 hours early, whatever it is. Like, I love that. We are stubborn.
Yeah. And we never regret it. We never regret pushing ourselves to do it. At least for me, every time I finish a walk, I never regret, oh, why did I do that? Or why did I decide to go this route or do this? So it's never something that we regret, but so hard to force ourselves to do.
We're going to do it though. You're going to inspire us to kick our own butts and everyone's got to get at walking. That's definitely part of what we're getting from this conversation.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the next event that we're planning for Creative Union is a river walk.
Okay, river walk with Faron. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly. And there's no agenda. We're just going to walk. Now, coincidentally, it starts and ends at a brewery, but hey, It's just more
okay.
social
Well,
time that
makes
we can get together.
a lot of sense. I love that. That's very
Exactly.
strategic. That's great. People need things like that too, to just actually force themselves to get out. It's like the river is probably always there. I'm guessing it's always there, but people are not going to go walk along it. So
Yeah,
until someone says, let's do this. Okay. So how can
exactly.
people kind of follow your work and get a hold of you and just see what you're up to these days?
Yeah, so my design handle is Faron.design. So Faron.design website. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram that way. And then our community club is called Creative Union. CreativeUnion.club is the website. Again, you can find us by using Creative Union Club on most of the socials. But yeah, we'd love to chat. We'd love to talk, and meet other people, and happy to answer questions around this and around the whole idea of health and being well, and back to the goal of like, I want people to be happy being a designer. I want people to love being a designer. And so there's so many things that stop us from doing that, but it doesn't have to be the case.
Yeah, I really wish that more of this information and these conversations were happening, when I was growing up in my design career. I think would have been very, very different for me. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, amazing. Well, I'm going to put all the links below so everyone can get in touch with you. And I really appreciate you taking the time for this conversation. I loved it. Thank you so much, Faron.
I appreciate it. My pleasure.
Take care. Thank you for joining me today on Ditch the Struggle. You showing up here means so, so much to me. To dig deeper into the topics discussed today and to learn about my work, visit alanarosa.com. And don't forget to download your free resources while you're there. And if this episode resonated with you, please share with others who also want to ditch the struggle. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating and a review, and let me know what you'd like to see more of on this podcast. And before I go, I want to leave you with my 3 favorite ways to ditch the struggle. Be your own best advocate, take baby steps for the win, and forget about a linear career path. It's overrated and you are doing just fine. See you next time.